Millions of families across the nation are no longer safe from eviction, and housing advocates warn we could be headed toward a massive wave of homelessness. A moratorium on evictions for federally backed housing expired last week. It covered more than 12 million households. But the actual number of people facing possible evictions could be much higher. Adriana Diaz spoke to families in danger of losing their homes. She joins us from Chicago. Good morning, Adriana.
Good morning. So renters are now at the mercy of state laws. And just like mask wearing policies, there's a patchwork of eviction policies that vary by state. Now, as we were working on this story, one statistic that really struck us is that in 17 states, Black women are twice as likely as white renters to be evicted.
Shamika Rollins' 8 children share 2 bedrooms here in Richmond, Virginia. But she's worried about losing their home after she says she received an eviction notice in June.
First thing, I panicked. And then next thing I look, and I'm like, I got my kids. And it's like, okay, now you got to figure this out.
She was behind on rent before the pandemic.
Run, Marjorie, go.
Then, as COVID appeared, half her income disappeared when her hours as a home health aide were cut. Her family helped her pay roughly $8,000 in owed rent, but she's still behind.
It's got to be overwhelming.
I have a lot of sleepless nights. My mind is constantly racing, what's your next move?
Catherine Azar in Colorado works with show horses, but has been out of work and unable to pay rent since March. She told us she hasn't seen $1 of unemployment money.
It's a nightmare. I don't think anybody should have to go through this.
If she can't get the money together or work out a deal by today, she'll head to eviction court.
It's hard for me to conceive of someone being willing to put another person out in the street in the middle of a deadly pandemic. And I'm high risk. I'm 70. I have heart issues and I'm diabetic.
They're just 2 of the 43 million Americans at risk of eviction in the coming months. For context, about 1 million Americans were evicted in the year after the Great Recession. And 30 states currently allow evictions to continue during the pandemic.
As eviction bans start to phase out across the country, are we looking at a tsunami of evictions?
I don't think that tsunami can adequately capture the number of cases that we anticipate seeing.
Denerica Brooks thinks it'll be worse. She's the director of housing at Legal Aid Chicago.
The courts are going to be flooded unless landlords make a good faith effort to try to be patient and also to try to resolve rent dispute issues in a way that does not involve the court system.
Your method to enforce your lease is by using the courts and filing an eviction action.
Landlord Paul Arena is with the Illinois Rental Property Owners Association. He argues the pandemic has actually had a minimal impact on rent payments so far. Members of his organization have sued Illinois' governor over the state's evictions ban, arguing landlords are unfairly bearing the burden.
What about all the people, advocates, who say it's just plain wrong to evict someone during a pandemic?
It's always a miserable experience to evict people. Somebody who's experiencing it can show that they have a legitimate hardship. We're willing to work with them, but to deny us access to the courts where you can sort everything out, that's a problem.
Studies show women of color are at higher risk of eviction. This Florida mother lost her waitressing job and her home during the pandemic. She's been living in a motel. Her kids are staying with her mother.
Like at night, it really hits me, like when I can't even, tuck my kids into bed. It gets very emotional.
We interviewed her days after she tested positive for COVID.
I feel like I'm getting hit from left to right with everything going on with my situation. It's like, what's next?
2 days later, she was hospitalized with symptoms, a health and housing crisis colliding.
Now, I did speak to her on the phone, and she is out of the hospital, thankfully, and doing much better. As for Shamika Rollins, her landlord said that they offer rent relief programs and always encourage tenants to seek help through state programs. And for Catherine Azar, her landlord said that she's tried to work something out with Azar, but so far they haven't been able to reach an agreement. Jerika?
Very, very difficult situation, just how this pandemic is affecting people in so many other ways. Adriana, thank you.